Average Mage Players fans, guys, how are you? Kumusta kayong lahat? Especially to my supporters here in my community. So here for this topic, we're gonna go ahead and guide you how to build and how to increase your restrict special stats. Okay, without further ado, let's get into the topic. All right, for restrict, now it comes to a point. I just observe this, guys, and please listen. Take note of this. I just observe it comes to a point that if you were able to get your restrict to a certain level or percentage, like around 340 and up, 330 and up, you might be able to your dodge and restrict. You might be able to win to a tougher opponent, right? Depending on what he uses. So the dodge, restrict, and basically the three is the most important, like dodge, restrict, and the crit. Because if he focuses on dodge and restrict resistance, you're gonna go with crit, right? If he focuses on dodge, you can go with restrict. If he focuses on restrict, you can go with dodge, right? So, or vice versa, depending on where's the opening, all right? But I would suggest focus on just three. Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, which is how to increase your dodge, it's the same in restrict. Now, the good thing in restrict is the trick about restrict, right? In restrict, you gotta hit first, okay? You should be the one hitting your opponent first, right? In some cases, wherein your opponent's mojo is really high, your opponent will actually go first, then it's kind of challenging, but you can still win, all right? Depending on what is the damage, right? And depending on a certain stats that needs to be considered here. So, say for example, let's discuss the restrict, okay? Let's just first discuss this. In restrict, you can either go with restrict plus HP steal, right? Or if your opponent loves to use mojo, then you can go with restrict, overpower, e-base. Now, in some cases, depends on your opponent restrict resistance. You can either go with rebirth, right? But your opponent has really a high what I call this resistance, then you might want to go with this Relic. So it would increase your restrict special stats to at least 29%, right? There are pros and cons. The downside of this is, of course, if your opponent will hit first and it's gonna take like a lot of your HP, okay, you might die first by the hands of his pet, right? Well, that depends on your defense and your damage, okay? But then again, if you can hit the opponent first, there's a high chance for you to win, right? You can test it out. Now, the other way around, if your opponent is, say, he has a high damage, he uses mojo, his mojo's too high, you can't keep up with the mojo even though you already have the base OP mojo and you've used all the I know, let's say, ways to increase your mojo. He still has a higher mojo. Then you might want to use rebirth, restrict plus rebirth. But keep in mind that your restrict special stats should be high enough, alright, to land the restrict. Say for example, it's usually 80 to 100%. I would say 90 to 100%. That's the safest way, right, to land restrict. Because 80 sometimes it fails, depending on your luck, right? But 90 to 100% higher than his resistance. So it's easy to do that right now because there's a lot of actual ways. So as I mentioned in my previous video, how to increase your dodge, it's the same thing. Your equipment, but this time it should be restrict here. Let me go through my restrict set. So currently, my restrict, if I'm gonna, I guess I can max this out. It might go up to somewhere around 350. That's my restrict. Okay, so let's discuss that. All right. So that's given that I was able to max this out. Okay, so we'll talk about that. So restrict, right? Get as much as high restrict as possible, and of course in restrict, it's important for you to have the debase in overpower mode. Okay, overpower debase mode. Why? Because you gotta hit first before your opponent does. Remember, if you can use restrict to defeat stronger opponent. So most likely they're using Mojo build or whatnot, crit. So you can just resist their crit and build some restrict, right? So restrict should come, I believe, with overpower and debase, so you can hit first. But if you want to try the restrict plus HP steal, well, if you're up against a Mojo build and then with the Zuri emblem, then you're not gonna last. You probably just get one hit, right? So it's best restrict to have the base Mojo. That's the best what I call this strategy. Now you can try it yourself. Well, you can try your own strategy, and if you want to share it, you can put a comment below. Okay, so get a highest restrict, but the most important here is your debase and overpower. You should have that first, your restrict. So currently, mine is 88, because I'm not using basically this. So if I use this, then that is 102, like 102. It's not complete yet. There are probably equipment that doesn't have, like, see, it has still HP steal. So if I can only get, the reason why I get this, because this is the green equipment and this restrict is too high, and this is where you activate your potential. Remember, whatever the piece of equipment here that you would be needing to activate to increase special stats, right? And then that you need to have that special stats from that equipment. Look for highest possible special stats. So it doesn't matter if it's HP still. It could be better if it has like the base or overpower. But for now, I'm still searching. Okay. Now, okay, so that's one, and of course, aura. Of course, if you can get the red one, okay, that'd be good. That'd be better. But for now, since you're free to play, you might want to max this out. And there's a trick actually how to increase the restrict. But you just need to have a lot of vermarine, say, because say for example it's only 16%, and how you can get it to probably 19%, or the perfect stats here is when you merge. Let's say when you merge here, there's always an option to reset. Although a reset is still gonna be a gamble because it's gonna be random, but you have a chance to get all this extra stats, special stats to restrict, right? It's not gonna be that much, but still would help. Like 3% is a big deal. It can be a make or break kind of thing. And then there's also the eye where you can put all this restrict here. Glyph. I believe they have the red now. So, and there is, of course, there's the gems, the chart. You can go with orange restrict, and then get the highest grade gem to fill out it, put it in a restrict slot, right? And then there's pet, so you can also have, let's say, a skill for pet here, right? Actually have one, so let's try. Okay, it's an embarrassment. Okay, so if that happens to be a restrict, I'll get it. Like red restrict, I'll get it. I'll exchange it with Mojo. So and then pet equipment, pet talent, pet equipment. All right, can enhance your restrict. So let's go to relic. Relic is basically this is it. But if the opponent restrict is your restrict is high enough versus opponent's restrict resistance, where you didn't have to use this callus, you can go with this, or you can go with rebirth. I would rather just say rebirth is the best way, right? This is just damage, but rebirth gives you an extra hit, you know, if you're being killed by the pet. So it's gonna you can do 4 more hits before the pet hits you again. Okay, so that's it. And then there's also the seals, right, where you can increase your restrict. And there's also title, where you can get like restrict. Oh, it's that. I believe I showed that. I showed that on my like previous video. There you go. Red packet master. So that's only once in a while. So I actually spend a lot of diamonds to get that. Okay, so title, and I believe the last here is you can also permit whatever you can get the permit here is actually will be shown here. So this one, this is our the you know, paid, what do you call this, crit restrict. There you go, 1%. You can even level it up. So if you're a whale, then you can get a high, you know, spend money, real money in diamonds to get all of this. Okay, if you want, and get a higher restrict as possible, right? So those are the ways in how to really increase your restrict. Thing that I probably forgot is the runes. So like I mentioned on my previous video for Dutch, restrict, once you complete this mutant, the ice mutant here, you're gonna get the bonus to restrict and Dutch. It always, these two always come together, you know. And then if you were able to, I don't know if this is restrict plus HP still, that's what I'm using right now. I'm not sure if this one's going to be Dutch. Probably this one's going to be Dutch or alien restrict. It just depends. I haven't unlocked it yet, but probably will create a video once I was able to unlock all of this. So guys, if you have a question, feel free to ask. If you have some idea on how to increase restrict more and I wasn't able to mention it in this video, feel free to comment, and I'll make my I'll stand corrected, all right, or I'll probably do that on my next video. All right, and thank you so much for all your support. This is Lai once again. Peace out.